Hey guys, I hope you guys all ended up having a really great day. Like I told you guys, I was going to go through and I'm going to record the first half of 1.6. I almost waited and did the whole thing. I think it's just easier to do this half and then that way you don't have to watch a 40-minute long video. So I'm going to go through this quick, but if you want to, you're welcome to pause it, fast forward it, whatever you want to do. So today we talked about rational expressions, and I really don't know why that first example was there. Like, I'm going to totally erase it, honestly. I think it was dumb. But anyway, so when we're simplifying rational expressions, the first thing we want to do is to factor the top or the bottom and then cancel out any common factors. So an example of what we're working out here is this x squared minus 9 over x squared plus 4x plus 3. Okay? And so what you have to do is you have to factor your top part. So if I want to factor the top part, I'm going to factor the top using difference of squares. So that's what DS stands for. So the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 9 is 3. So that top is going to end up factoring to x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay? And then on the bottom, we're going to factor that using what I call gold numbers. But it's when you want to find two things that multiply to 3 but add to 4. So obviously the only two factors of 3 are 1 and 3. So that bottom is going to factor into x plus 3, x plus 1. Okay? So then you're going to go through and cancel anything out that, anything out that matches. So there's an x plus 3 up here and an x plus 3 down here. And then you're left with this x minus 3 and the x plus 1. And we talked about today in class, you cannot cancel the x on top and the x on the bottom. That is not cool. You can't do that. Okay, so don't do that. Okay, any questions? I don't know why I asked any questions because nobody's here. So anyway, our second example, we just had x minus 6 on top, and that cannot factor. It's just x minus 6. And the bottom, we're going to do difference of squares again. So the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 6 is 3. The square root of 36 is 6. So this factors into x plus 6, x minus 6. Well, then what we should be able to notice is that there's an x minus 6 on top and an x minus 6 on the bottom. So all we're left with on the bottom is x plus 6. And then you can just put a 1 on top like that. Okay? So then, cancel. We started doing multiplying. So multiplying, there's really not anything different. You just factor the top and the bottom of both of them. And then anything on top, either fraction, can cancel with anything on the bottom of either fraction. And then you just simplify them. So the example that we did was x squared plus 4x minus 5 and 3x plus 18, and then times 2x minus 1, x plus 5. So the top one up here, that's a goal problem. So I want two things that multiply to negative 5 but add to 4. Well, the only two factors that could work are 1 and, 1 and 5. One of them has to be negative in order to multiply to negative 5. So in order for it to be a positive 4, it's going to have to be a negative 1. If you did 1 and negative 5, that would give you negative 4. So the top factors into x minus 1, x plus 5. The bottom is going to be a GCF. So we take a 3 out, and that leaves you with x plus 6. 2x minus 1, nothing can happen to that. And x plus 5, nothing can happen to that. So then we go through and we start canceling, okay? So I can cancel the x plus 5, the x plus 5. And that's really all that can cancel. Okay, so then we're left with x minus 1 times 2x minus 1. And then 3 times x plus 6. And leave it like this. Do not go back and factor or FOIL it out and distribute. You don't need to do that. Just leave your answer in simplified form. Dividing, it's just the same as multiplying, except for on step 1, you have to flip the fraction. That's called multiplying by the reciprocal. So down here in the example that I have for you, the very first thing we're going to start off by doing is we're going to rewrite the first fraction the way it is. And in the second one, we're going to multiply but this time the x squared plus 2x plus 1 is on top, and the x squared minus 4 is on bottom. So I'm going to actually, like, I did this kind of weird in class today. I'm going to skip quite a bit of space here, and I'm just going to leave the two fraction bars, and then once we have factored them, then we'll fill them in. So we're going to start out by doing the 2x squared plus x minus 6 part, okay? And that's your AC method. So A times C is negative 12. B is 1. So two factors of that would be negative 3 and positive 4. And I think that adds to 1. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that x and you're going to replace it with that 3x. So 2x squared minus 3x plus 4x minus 6. So then you do grouping on the first two, grouping on the last two. So the first two is x, and then you're left with 2x minus 3. And on the second one, it's a 2. Oops, go back. And then that leaves me with 2x minus 3. So then whatever's on the outside becomes one factor, x plus 2. And the middle pieces should always match. So 2x minus 3. Okay, so that's that one factor. Then we're going to do the x squared plus 2x plus, I think it's a 1. Yeah. Okay, so I want two things that multiply to 1 but add to 2. It's going to be 1 and 1, so x plus 1, x plus 1. So that goes up here. Okay, so then we are going to do the x squared minus 1, 1. 1, 1. X squared minus 1. That's a difference of squares problem. So the square root of the first one's x, square root of the last one is 1. So this factors into x plus 1, x minus 1. And then the last one we had was that x squared minus 4. And again, it's a difference of squares, x and 2. So this is x plus 2, x minus 2. Okay? So then we're going to go through and cancel everything out that matches. So there's an x plus 2 down here and an x plus 2 up here. We cancel. We got an x minus or plus 1 and an x plus 1. And that's really all that can cancel. So on top, we're left with, I'm going to go down to the bottom, okay? Rewrite this down here. So on top, we have 2x minus 3 times x plus 1. And on the bottom, we have x minus 1, sorry, times x minus 2. And that is your answer. So that was all we did today. This is 1.6 day 1, and you're doing page 64, 1 through